Hey, what's up there, everybody? It's Odin here on this Sunday evening, giving you the state of the onion, as I typically do. State of the onion. That's a trademarked phrase at this point. Which is funny because it actually comes from my daughter when she was younger, first learning how to read. She told me that when she would see like a credit union or anything that had union in it, which is usually like banks and things, that she thought it said onion. She thought that's how, and she was like, why do these banks all have onion in their name? And it makes sense. Like, you look at the word UNION, it looks like it should be onion. I get it. And then we spell onion with an O, but then my other daughter's like, yeah, it should be like UH union or YU. That's it. YUNION union. But anyway, so that's where just the weirdness of the term, that's where I came up with State of the Onion. That's all. Anyway, it's Sunday. We're at the end of another week, about to go into a new week this coming in this leap year. As we draw closer to that extra day this year, which falls on a Thursday, and I'm a fairly regular on the Man Cave, which is good stuff in Justin Belmont's show. It's a lot of fun. And they were like, we got to do a crossover with Saturday Night Leaped on Leap Year because it's leap year. I'm like, oh yeah, we're so leaped we forgot it was leap year. But yeah, so that'll be something. But yeah, it is leap year every 4 years. Yet to meet a person who was born on leap year, but I always think that would be interesting. Um, so on the screen, we've got another page, new page for Kill Them Dead, as I go back and forth with the unconditional shove work and the Kill Them Dead work. Both fun for their own reasons. They're different settings. The Kill Them Dead stuff is pure pencils. I don't ink it. The unconditional shove stuff I ink, which I enjoy and I like. So it gives me like some variance. The last unconditional shove page, gets shared around a bit. People seem to like it, and that was really cool, especially when I showed it side by side with the left-hand page. So that was cool to see that people liked, at least, like graphically, it was a pretty fun page. So, and that story is like getting really close to this climax where I'm like, I don't know if I want to share pages. And even on this one, with the Kill Them Dead stuff, sometimes I'm like, I'm sharing too much. You guys are going to know the whole story if you watch, but nobody watches these videos anyway, so try to adjust my camera a little bit. There you can see it a little better, but this is the part in the story, the worm, the dragon worm, had the Rat King in his mouth. The Rat King had absorbed the Minotaur and was trying to absorb the husk, and she's fighting. And then out of nowhere, the worm dragon here bites down hard on the Rat King, exploding all the pieces and bodies, and they go flying. And in that foray, you've got the husk here flying away, and her jumping up with her sword to stab the worm on her way down and slide down his belly to keep from falling. And if you can't see it, over to this side is the Minotaur, after being exploded from the Rat King, is now battling with the husk, trying to not fall himself. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. Everything we wrote with this was just like, how can we make this like visually and mentally just like show you that everything's constant insanity in the underworld. I was on John's Longbox talking Kill Them Dead and Unconditional Shove, Magnificent Bastards, everything we got going on with Broken Compass Entertainment, The Splash, Cascadia, Paper Machete, Welcome to Horror House, all these cool things we got in the works. But as I was explaining it to John on his show, I was like, it's just constant, nonstop battling. And that's really what we wanted to get, is like, so the song that goes with this episode, or this portion of the book is the endless. And we wrote the endless, and the whole idea was just to kind of get this idea, or this paint this picture of nonstop war. It's just never ending. You know, you're in the underworld, you're in hell, and it's just, you can't die. You're just constantly at war. You're constantly being destroyed and rebuilt, and everything's just kind of like in this current of, you know, decay and destruction, but it doesn't end. And so we just wanted it to feel very, you know, battle oriented and just insanity all the time. But this was just life for people in the underworld. But we following our character, the Husk, as she's just living in this world of constant battle, but she seems driven towards a cause, and it just kind of moves her along, and we're just following her path amongst this landscape. And so yeah, as these things are happening, you're just kind of being sucked into that world. Like, this is the world you're stepping into. You're setting the stage. This is what you're experiencing, is just nonstop battle and destruction and chaos. And then, you know, as it starts to unfold, you're like, why are we following this one character? That's just random character. Why are we following her? Why are we following her story particularly? And yeah, again, as we get further along, you know, I may have to stop sharing things. It's fun, and it's cool to like show you guys what I'm always working on, but there might be a point. Where I have to stop sharing just because I don't want spoilers or anything like that. The reality is sometimes I go, well, who's watching? You know, does anyone really care, or what? Are they going to piece it together? But, you know, you still got to be careful, I guess. But, you know, Sebastian, Skunk Artworks, he reached out to me. He's like, hey, are you going to do the Battle Brick Road art contest? Because Sebastian will do all the art contests, and I don't blame him. Usually there's money involved, some kind of prize. And it's fun. It's fun. It's also fun to see, like, people will vote you up, you know, if they're like straw polls or something. So he did the Zaid comics one. He did a masquerade piece, which I thought was absolute banger. Like, that one I voted with a 100% pure conscience. I'm like, yes, it's not just because you're my bro, you know. Like, this, I would vote for this one if I was just looking through the submissions and didn't have a dog in the fight. And then he also did a Crimstone piece, which was also fantastic. I think the Masquerade one was definitely his winning submission. But so that was really cool. And then he's going to do a Battle Brick Road one. He shared a little portion of it with me, and it's fucking phenomenal, which I would expect no less. You know how much I respect and love Skunk Artworks. So, but he's like, are you going to be doing anything for it? And I don't know if he was asking, like, are you going to compete with me or what? But I was like, dude, I really haven't been drawing anything but pages. I'm not, you know, I've got a couple sketch covers that I really want to draw, both of them not Savage Sword, but the new Conan series, the Titan Conan series. 2 sketch covers that I want to draw. One's pure black, so I'll draw in a white pen. And one of them's just blank white. It's actually like eggshell or beige or whatever. But nonetheless, I'm like, oh, I've been wanting to draw those, but I don't like slowing down on this stuff. You know, time is a precious commodity. I work a lot. I have my kids all weekend. You know, and that's just the game we play. You know, like, if I have time, I'll do it. But, you know, there's so many other things that have to be done. And I'm like, man, I wish I could just draw all the time. I wish this was my living. Maybe if it was, I wouldn't appreciate it as much, or it would become like work. But it's cool to think about anyway. But as it stands, you know, I have a job where I work, you know, pretty long hours most of the time, and then especially lately. And, you know, I've got my kids, I've got my house to upkeep and take care of, vehicles, all that stuff. So, which it just takes away from what I want to be doing. And then when I can finally sit down and draw, it's great. And usually, It depends if there's so I've been watching a lot of Avs games, a lot of Nuggets games because it's the off season for football. So I'm like, well, and the Broncos suck anyway, so it's like it's depressing to even think about. And then once there's baseball, baseball's great because there's basically, especially like my team, the Rockies, because they're a Western Conference in the National League West, as they say. But they always have these like night games, and I could just stay up late. And baseball's one I don't have to like constantly be paying attention to as well. Whereas hockey, I don't get as much drawn because it's like, or basketball, same thing. I'm kind of, you hear the announcers and you hear their voices getting heightened. You can kind of look up. But, so it's usually sports games or a movie. Sometimes it's movies I haven't seen, which I don't get as much drawn when that happens because I got to pay attention a little bit. But if I have something in the background that I've seen before that I just like, and it's just there for background noise, I can get a lot of drawing done, and it's good background noise while I'm doing that. Because it's like I wish I could draw comics while reading comics. That would be perfect if somehow that could happen. But obviously that can't happen. So what have I been watching? Watched some good movies. A couple that I haven't seen. One that I really enjoyed. There may be people out there who know all about it. And they're like, you're just now seeing that? I'm like, yeah, just now seeing it. And there's probably a lot of people who've never heard of it. It's called Frankenstein's Army. And it was like a fairly independent film. It's basically some Russian soldiers are sent in on a mission to this Nazi compound to extract this crazy doctor. And it's basically Dr. Frankenstein. And it's great. And it's just, he has created these insane zombie creatures with humans, and they have like weaponry attached to them, and they're just, it's insanity. Like the monsters that he's created are fun and gory, and the guy who played Dr. Frankenstein was perfect. He was great being a mad scientist, creator guy. And the intrigue of the story, the acting was really good because you kind of get, it's World War II. They did a really good job setting the stage, and there was some espionage back and forth that made the story even more intriguing. So yeah, that's definitely gets a highly recommend for me as far as like the type of stuff I like. If you like, it's got some like grindhouse-ish kind of horror, and but a lot of fun, but the setting also being World War II and Nazi, it's really good. So highly recommend Frankenstein's Army. It was a really good one. Watch that. Let's see. I watched Pontypool again. I've seen Pontypool many times. It's one of my favorites. Pontypool. That's one where it's hard to like explain it at all without giving any kind of hints. And I really do think if you haven't seen it, you should go in unfettered like I did the first time, because it's a mind trip, and it's kind of a zombie movie, but not. Very, very interesting Canadian thing. I think it was also fairly independent, but just the concept is so wild. Basically, how the zombies are created is so different and unique, and like who would have thought that in a very well played and acted as well. So that one's a high recommend if you've never seen Pontypool. Rewatched River's Edge, which I've seen many, many times. I love the River's Edge though. And if you don't know, the River's Edge stars Keanu Reeves. That's basically his doppelganger movie for me. Like when I watch that and he's playing a high school kid, that's kind of what I looked like in high school, or even like young adult, because he's probably older in high school playing a high schooler. That's kind of what I looked like, and I used to get that comparison all the fucking time. I had groups of friends that didn't call me Odin, or at the time I went by Tommy, but they didn't call me Tommy, they didn't call me Odin, they called me Keanu, or Keanu, however you pronounce it. But it was just funny to me. I just got that comparison all the time. The first time I heard it, though, I was about 19, 20 years old. And I had to take these classes because I got in trouble with the law. And you have to take certain classes, they're forced. And me and my best friend Keith, we had to take these classes together because we got in trouble together. But the lady who ran the classes, still remember her name, Tracy. I'll not say her last name for anonymity. But she was, it was about the time the first Matrix came out. And she was talking about seeing it at the theater, and she's telling the whole class this, which was kind of somewhat embarrassing, but somewhat flattering as well. But she was like, I was watching the movie, and every time I'd see Keanu Reeves, I was like, this looks like Odin. This looks like... I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. He was cool in that movie, you know. That said, I had like really long hair back then, but my facial features were very similar. And I've just got that doppelganger thing. But River's Edge, like I watch it, I'm like, oh shit, like he was like a metalhead stoner, and I'm like, that was me in high school. That's fucking crazy. But it's a great movie. It's Keanu Reeves. It's got Crispin Glover in the role of his life. I mean, outside of Back to the Future, Crispin Glover was so good in The River's Edge. As Dennis Hopper in a great role as Feck. It's just a great movie. And there's no fantastic elements like monsters or zombies or any, you know, there's not horror or sci-fi, which I typically like that kind of stuff in my entertainment. But just for a dramatic movie and peering into a world at a time when chaos happens, it's really, really good. It definitely shines a light on the human experience from the point of view of no good, degenerate street kids that are metalheads and stuff like that, and how they respond to tragedy, and it's just really well done. That one is also highly recommended. That one has a lot of Slayer in the soundtrack, and not just Slayer, like Slayer Show No Mercy album Slayer, like old Slayer. And it's just great because Crispin Glover drives this little dune buggy VW bug, and which was like a thing back then. There was a lot of those running around, and it's just great. And it's just got Slayer playing in the background. But what's weird is I watched that and I see his family dynamic. It wasn't my family dynamic, but it was a lot of my friends' family dynamic. So it was like a single mom with two just up to no good teenagers, and then a younger daughter, and then a stepdad who lives in the house. He's always yelling at everybody and treating everybody. And he's not intimidating per se, except for he's just the stepdad. And Keanu Reeves always has like conflicts with him, but it's just so well done because I'm watching it. I'm like, fuck, this was so many of my friends. I would go over to their house, and just hanging out at their house would be like watching that same interaction. It was like, it was odd how real it felt. So, but it's a great movie. If you get a chance, check that one out. I watch all kinds of shit lately. And then last night, LCH Jeremy Fire and Ice, I don't know what his moniker is now for his show, but Saturday nights I always do a show, and this week they had Shanthan Jetty on talking about Twilight Zone, and so obviously they're speaking my language. My favorite show of all time, well, outside of maybe Red Dwarf. It's a toss-up which one I like more, depending on the mood. Red Dwarf is comedy, and it's a whole different thing. But anytime anyone wants to talk Twilight Zone, I'm there. And yeah, they touched on all the great episodes, polled the audience, people in chat, all this stuff. It was just really, really good. And what was funny was I was just, again, like rewatching a lot of Twilight Zone episodes, even though I just did a marathon not too long ago. But there's certain episodes that I'm like, I just want to watch this right now. again, while I'm drawing something that I've seen before many times, I'm like, I just want to have this back in the background. I like it. And so I was watching several episodes for that. Rewatched Walking Distance. What was the other one? There was a couple that I skipped during the marathon that I was like, okay, I want to watch those because they were like so obvious, I guess. So Time Enough to Last. That was one I skipped in the marathon, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch that again. And it's a good episode. I think it's overrated. I mean, it's a good episode. The twist is, it comes so suddenly that's why it's great. Because you're following this guy, and then there's a nuclear blast or whatever wipes everybody out, and then he's the only one who survives because he's in a bank vault, and then he's just roaming around town. But what's weird is how long it takes him to realize, hey, I can just curl up with a book anytime I want, which was like his whole point, and his whole character was just wishing he could do that. And it takes him forever to figure out that, hey, everyone's gone. Now you can just do that without being nagged. But then the twist ending, which again, it's like spoilers, but the show's like 80 years old or whatever. His glasses fall while he finally realizes at the Library of Congress he can just read every book he's ever wanted to read, which is his life's ambition anyway. And his Coke bottle glasses fall and break, and then he can't see anything. And that's where he invokes the title of the show, Time Enough at Last. Or Time Enough to Last. But that's where he says, there was time now. There was time. There was time enough to last. And, but it's weird because that twist just happens. Boom. He just kind of stumbles and his glasses break. And you're like, yeah, like that's it. But I think it's a little overrated. There's so many good episodes. It's one of the most iconic, but I just don't think it's as good as many of the others. I think all the other super iconic ones, which they touched on Jeremy's show, like Terror at 35, is it 35,000, 37,000 feet? I think everybody always gets the elevation wrong, but I think it's 37. I know 35,000 is whatever cruising height or whatever, when you're usually flying on a bigger plane. But that one with William Shatner, that one is iconic, and for a very good reason. It was like nothing else. The concept was so intriguing, and also they had the big teddy bear alien thing. That one I think is iconic for a reason. And also, the more William Shatner as an actor became iconic for his time as Captain Kirk mainly, and the more his cadence and the way he talks became iconic, the more that episode became iconic. And I also blame Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when he reenacts that scene. There's something on the wing. Something. And the overacting and stuff. Which is funny because William Shatner's a really good actor back then. He played it perfectly. I think that one's iconic and deserves to be iconic. And I'm not trying to like shit on Time Enough to Last. It's still a good episode. And then Eye of the Beholder, with the pig faces and the beautiful girl and the bandages and which is weird because we always think of that juxtaposition of the, ugly people thinking that she's ugly and they're ugly to us and the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But the interesting subtext to that episode is actually the dystopian world that they lived in, where it's like, if you deviate from our look, we actually like lock you up and hide you away from the rest of society. And so she's having this procedure because it's a desperate move to not be locked up and outcast and shunned. So it was more than just the beauty thing. They also had this like, yes, in this world, any deviation is considered, wretched and unwanted. So that one's iconic. That one, the reveal is one of the most powerful ever. The twist, the reveal, the way it was shot. When the first time you see it, if you go in there dry and you don't know anything about it, and that doctor turns his face and it's all hideous and pig-like, it's jarring. It's intense. So that one, absolutely phenomenal. Now you can't go back and have that relived. You already know the twist if you've seen it, so it doesn't help you any. But knowing what you felt that first time is why. But it's also just the camera work, how they kept everyone in shadow until the reveal. Uh, just the way they're talking, they kind of like take you. It's like a roller coaster. They take you up to the top, and then boom, you're instantly dropping. As you see the reveal. So that one deserves every bit of iconic status. And then I think To Serve Man, it's a cookbook. That one was great. It's there's certain things about it that I'm like, it stands the test of time because of the twist and some of the setup getting into it, like her having to decipher the book and things like that. But the aliens look funny. I mean, it kind of looks like the guy has Down syndrome. And Aldous pointed this out on the show last night, that it was Jaws. Or I think you said it was Jaws. Big old monster dude. It was Jaws in the Bond movies. I think that's who he said it was. But he's like, I've watched it so many times, I just now realized. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's always interesting too. And then this was pointed out, is that there's a wide array of actors who went on to become quite a bit more famous beyond Twilight Zone, or were famous as they starred in it. So there's like several episodes where you're like, oh, that's interesting. And so, like a young Charles Bronson or a young Burt Reynolds or Peter Falk. Don Rickles was in an episode. Was it James Coburn? Or was it James No. Oh, what the frick was that actor's name? Maybe it was James Coburn. I don't know. What was that one too? Is it Martin Landau? I think that's who it is. I always get him and Walter Matthau mixed up. Martin Landau. Obviously William Shatner, Burgess Meredith, list goes on. There's so many. And then the invaders, the one with the old lady in the cabin and the little miniature space invaders, and the twist is that they're human and she's a giant. But that was Agnes Moorehead from Bewitched, who played the old lady, and she was the mom on Bewitched. There's just so many of those actors that just kind of come up through the show, and you're like, oh man. Then they went on, Peter Falk went on to become Columbo, and he did a great job. There's a young Dennis Hopper, and can't remember the name of it. It's he's like a charismatic Nazi trying to revive the Reich. But that one was great too. And just so many good actors. Trying to think of other cameos. There's just tons, and they all went on to like bigger things, or they were big before they did their role. So just a phenomenal show. I don't know where I was going with that. Twilight Zone was great. That's all there is. And anybody who watches my channel knows how much I love Twilight Zone. So that was a great show. And then I had to leave that chat early because we did Saturday Night Leaped, which was also a great show. It was a lot of fun. Just hanging out. I can't even remember what all we were talking about. Just hanging out and goofing off like we usually do. So, and that one got pulled, so I don't know if it's up or not. I don't think it's up anymore. Because we were sharing stuff that the owners of that material copyright strike it. Oh yeah, I don't know what else to talk about. Uh, I got some school pictures for my daughter. This cracks me up because we had a long conversation about where my one daughter gets her sense of humor. Now, all my daughters are hilarious. They all have really wry, subtle, and sometimes overt, but just great senses of humor. And my one daughter, just a little more so. She's just a little more joker in her personality, but she does subtle things, and it just cracked me up. So I got these school pictures. Their mom was like, "Hey, they did school pictures. Here, here's yours." And and it's not like her senior picture or anything, but in her school picture, she's smiling, she's looking beautiful. She's got this name tag on her chest that says, "Hello, my name is Ryan Gosling." And if you have to know her, like she constantly makes these jokes about like, "I'm Ryan Gosling," and I don't know what the heck. It's just like a funny thing that she started. But that's just in her freaking picture. Like I said, she's looking beautiful, great smile. And here's this little name tag that says, "Hello, my name is Ryan Gosling." Be funnier if it said, "Hello, my name is Ryan Gosling. You killed my father." Then it'd be a crossover. But yeah, she's just got a great sense of humor, and that was cracking me up. I just wanted to share. So anyway, I don't know. That's about all I got. We got more Kill Them Dead. I do want to wrap this up so I can work some more on this page. But what I got, I could turn around. Oh, let's see here. I got these giant, the 11 by 17 portfolio books to preserve all the stuff I draw, all the pages I draw for. These are all filled with unconditional shove. When it's 80 plus pages, it fills these things up. And so this is just Monsters Exist, the first story. Let's see if we can get in there. That's all Monsters Exist. So full on pages everywhere, except for, let's see here. Actually, it might be just as good to do this, but but they're too big. Except for every once in a while, we have something like that. A black page, and that's where I sold an original. And we sold a few of them, but it was pretty cool. I was able to show my daughters this. And I said, it's probably ain't going to be worth anything, but it's a legacy that I'm going to leave you guys. When I'm passed on, you're going to have all this original artwork. You can do whatever. Hopefully we'll build some momentum and success to where somebody might actually want that stuff. But my daughter's like, "I would never sell that. I'll keep it forever. And I could show my kids and be like, this is your grandpa, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that. But I'm like, but after I'm gone, you do whatever you want. I won't care. I won't care. But I was telling them, like, whatever you do in life, you're trying to leave a legacy of sorts, and your best legacy is your children. Anybody who has children, that's your biggest legacy, is because that's going to carry on to their generation, and they're going to leave their legacy and so on. But I was telling my kids, I'm like, I've done some creative things that I've left to this world. They weren't monumentally successful in any sense, but it's still really cool to have those things that I made and hopefully get passed down, or, like you said, you could show your kids, but I mean, maybe you'll sell it. I don't know. After I'm dead, I won't care, but nonetheless, I was like, I've got a couple albums I've recorded. There's videos floating around of me playing live music. And, I've also got the legacy of there was a time in my life when I did a lot of mentorship, and those people, speak highly of their time with me and can talk about that. So whatever, like, little ripple effects you leave in this life. But sometimes it's nice to leave something physical, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to make comic books too. I was like, even if they're not successful, if I have them and, it inspires my kids or my grandkids to be creative and make their own thing. Even if, I have my own career and things that pay the bills and take care of life. But again, it's like if it's inspiring at all, I think that's great. So yeah, I had to preserve those because they were just like sitting in a box after I moved, and I'm like, I got to get these folders and put them in there. But also started with the Kill Them Dead pages because they're pencil, which can get all smudgy and stuff. So started can't see these because of that. Oh, yeah, there's no way to really show it. But yeah, all the Kill Them Dead pages so far going in there. And soon this page will go in there. I scan them, send them to Sebastian in Germany, and then yeah, I'm like, well, then they go in there. There's a part of me that wants to ink them in my own inking style to help preserve them, but I'm like, I don't know. They are what they are, like these are drawn as penciled pages. It would be fun to ink them, but I don't know. For one, I don't have time to do that just for my own pleasure, but I don't know that they need it. They're just, let them stand as penciled pages. That's what they are. So, anywho, that's about all. Like, I don't know what else to talk about. Yeah, I don't know what else to talk about. It was Valentine's Day the other day. It's funny with Valentine's Day. You either look, as a single person, you either look at it like as a mopey or a person, or you kind of breathe a sigh of relief because you're like, I don't have to celebrate this stupid ass holiday. Because it really is. There's nothing. It's just a money play just to get people to buy chocolates. And, I get it to like remind you to be romantic or something like that. But even when I was in relationships, I'm like, fucking Valentine's Day. It's so dumb. But where was I going with that? Damn it. I had a point that I was going to wrap it around to, and I lost it. Oh, well, anyway, it was Valentine's Day the other day, and it's leap year, and kind of in the dog days of winter, I guess. We're just about cresting into spring. So my kids have spring break like early March, and I'm like, why do they keep moving spring break so early? It's fucking crazy. Like when I was a kid, it was always around Easter, roughly. And that works because then I can have my kids for an extended stretch, maybe take some time off work and like go on a really nice camping trip. Because camping right now it's a little warmer here than other places I've lived, so we could go camping right now. But it was always one of those, and sometimes it was pretty damn fucking cold. But I was like, kids, it's spring break. We're going camping. We're going to do like 5 days out in the woods. And some of those days were like mornings would get down below freezing, and we're in tents and sleeping bags. But I'm like, kids were roughing it, like you got to go through these experiences to appreciate life. I don't know, like, and they never forgot. They love those camping trips. They'll look back on, or it just rains the whole time, and they're like, yeah, I was just soaking wet that whole trip. And I'm like, yeah, but we had a blast, We did our thing. We went hiking. We went fishing. We kept a fire going. We sat around and told stories, It was fun. So I wish their spring break was more in April, where it's like everything's blooming. It's starting to get warmer. It's starting to feel like full on. Whereas who knows what the weather's going to be like mid-March. So Oh well. That's a selfish thing on my end. But I usually get my kids for extended times during their bigger breaks. And so that's why I like to do these, like a camping trip or something like that. But that's it. I got a trip coming up with my daughter to go to, I think it's Planet Comic-Con, which is in Kansas City, which actually looks like a lot of fun. And so that's going to be a good bonding experience for both of us. I talked about potentially cosplaying. I'm like, if you want to, we can do like a dad-daughter thing if you want, but we'll see. Yeah, looking forward to that. That's in a couple weeks. And yeah, I'll talk all about it the Sunday following, which is the next day. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up. Life is really, really always interesting. And if it's not, you're not paying attention. But wherever you're at in your life, whether you're paying attention or not, I sincerely hope that if you're watching this, that you're doing awesome. You're facing all your trials and obstacles with that power and that strength and that inner conviction and courage, and always showing a great sense of care for the loved ones around you as well, which actually is what inspires great courage. There's an old saying, if you've got nothing to die for, you've got nothing to live for. And when you've got children, you've got something to die for. That's an easy, well, not easy. That's a very common reality of life. I don't know what term I'm looking for, but that puts you into that mode of like, now you have a reason to live. You have a reason to die. You have a reason to live because you have dependence. And so with that, you get that great sense of care for the loved ones around you. Those are the loved ones. And it gives you courage to, because my kids would talk about this, like when we would go camping, they're like, I trust you, Dad. And they would talk about like, somebody asked my kids, like, if you had to be out in the woods with only one person, who would it be? They're like, oh, Dad, of course. And I'm like, guys, or girls, there's way better people that could protect you and everything. But like, you inspire that confidence because that's the reality, is like, I would die to make your life, to preserve your life, because you're the future, And when you have that in your heart, it inspires your kids to know that that's constantly there, to where they're like, yeah, we could be out in the woods. Dad will take care of us. Even though you're sitting there on edge, like, how do I take care of these little kids? But it gives you that inspiration. That's what inspires that courage and that strength to forge on. Now, if you don't have kids, you still have loved ones in your life. You still have people that you would die for, hopefully. And if you don't, I'm sorry for you, but you should find them if you don't. But that's where courage comes from. Otherwise, it's just self-preservation. And selfless acts are the most courageous acts. So anyway, face all your obstacles with courage, confidence, strength, and power, and that great care for the loved ones around you. And of course, always act with integrity. You don't want to shortchange that selfless act by acting out of integrity or without integrity. That will just ruins that legacy that you're leaving of a person of character. So always do that. I know I'm preaching out here. I just do that at the end of these videos, but it's mostly a sense of hope and a sense of encouragement and hoping that the best for everybody. And I know the best comes from you being your best. So I hope you're being your best, being pure awesome in everything you do. And yeah, until next time, Odin here. Take care and we'll see you again later.